Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's K-E-S-H-W-A-N-I, Keshwani. We are here because we want to improve our English. We want to improve our vocabulary. Today is day number 31. The idea, as you know by now, is to learn few new words every day and in the process improve our English, improve our vocabulary, and thereby improve our English. The very first word that I want to learn, that we would like to learn, is infer. Infer. It's a verb. What does it mean to infer? Well, it means to draw a rational or logical conclusion. If we draw a rational or logical conclusion from something, that process is called inference. The noun is inference. Inference. For example, if I tell you that A is more than B and B is more than C, then one infers may infer that A is more than C. Because we know that A is greater than B and we are told that B is greater than C. Therefore, it is safe to infer, it is safe to make a rational, logical conclusion that A must be greater than C. We have just made an inference. The adjective would be inferential. Adjective is inferential. So the statement that we just made, if A is bigger than B and B is bigger than C, then we infer that A is greater than C. That last statement, that A is greater than C, that statement is inferential. It is inferential, adjective. That's it. That was the word infer. The reason I wanted to cover this word is because I have noticed a very nasty habit is when people use the word conclude as a synonym of infer. Conclusion is not an inference. Conclusion is what appears at the very end of something. You may have a conclusion to a statement, or you may have a conclusion to a story, or you may have a conclusion to an argument. That's not an inference. So when people mean to say infer, in place of infer, they say I conclude. They say if A is bigger than B, and B is bigger than C, therefore we conclude that A is greater than C. We do not conclude, we infer is the word that you want to use. There's a difference between an inference and a conclusion. Anyway, that's why I wanted to cover it. People have a nasty habit of thinking that this is a synonym of conclude. It is not. Let's learn one more word. One more word which is related to infer, but not quite. The word is conjecture. Let's see how to pronounce it. Let's learn it. conjecture. As you can see, it has a ch sound in it. T-U-R-E is pronounced ch, conjecture. What is a conjecture? A conjecture is an inference that is based on incomplete or inconclusive evidence. Based on incomplete or inconclusive evidence. So that's the difference between an inference and a conjecture, because you see here, if we say that A is more than B and B is more than C, therefore A must be more than C, this is an inference. It's an inference because it's not based on inconclusive or incomplete evidence. This is based on a sound, complete evidence. If A is bigger than B and B is bigger than C, then A has to be bigger than C. There is no doubt about it. It's not incomplete evidence. It is not inconclusive evidence. It is an inference. Whereas if you're making a statement which is based on incomplete or inconclusive evidence, then in that instance, we are not making an inference. We are making conjecture. That's the difference. Conjectures are based on inconclusive evidence. Inferences are based on solid, conclusive evidence. They are rational, logical. Well, there's one word I just stopped myself here in a sentence. They are rational, logical deductions, which we'll come to in a second. The word deduction. We'll come to it in a few minutes. The next word that we want to learn is surmise. Surmise and conjecture, they are the same. It's a synonym of conjecture. There is no difference. One can surmise or one can make a conjecture. So if you surmise, if you say that I surmise, that what you're saying is that I'm making this statement based on something that seems to be true, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't have a complete. Oh boy, there's another word that comes to my mind for no good reason. Let me first finish my sentence here. So, I forget now what I was saying. So, if you're making a conjecture or if you're surmising something, that's because we're not making an inference. We're surmising something because we are making our statement based on something that is not an incontrovertible statement. I don't know how this happens. It happens every single time. These words come to my mind for no good reason, out of the blue. And then 9 out of 10 times I do not know how to spell the bloody things. Anyway, just erase this thing here. And in this dictionary that I'm holding in my hand, sometimes when the spellings are too far off, it simply says sorry, cannot help you. And sometimes my spellings are so far off, so off the chart, that instead of saying sorry, cannot help, it gives me certain digits in a certain position. We're still looking. While we are at it, let's just learn the word that I just used in my sentence. Digits. Digit, of course, has two meanings. We're digressing here for no good reason. Digit, of course, as in this number has two digits, 1 and a 2. There are two digits in it. But the meaning of the word digit is fingers. Your fingers are digits. So if the spelling is too far off, this thing in a display gives me certain digits in a certain position, which I cannot show you. Do you understand? It's not going to be this digit, it's going to be the next digit in a certain position. That's far off, that's how far off my spellings are sometimes. Here we go. In control. We'll learn this next time. We'll learn this in the future. It just means it is beyond dispute. It is beyond doubt. So if you're making a statement based on something that is incontrovertible, then that's an inference. That's not a conjecture. That's not a surmise. That's not a. I don't know what the noun of surmise would be. I never looked it up. But anyway, surmise is a synonym of conjecture. They are the same. The next word that we want to learn, let's carry on then. One more time, for those of you who still do not know, I put the words in the side here, those words that crop up in the middle of the lecture for no good reason, and we want to put them on the side so that we can learn them in the future. The word was incontrovertible, which means indisputable, beyond doubt, incontrovertible. People speak of, I'm sure you've heard of incontrovertible proof. It means a proof that is indisputable, a proof that is beyond doubt, a proof whose validity is not in question. A digit is a finger. Do you understand? So there is a certain digit that one holds in a certain position to convey an idea, and that's what I get on my computers, in my dictionary here sometimes, because my spellings are that far off. Anyway, the next word that we want to learn is don't ask me why I say these silly things. This just happens. I don't know why. The word is deduce. It's a verb. It means to reach a conclusion by reasoning from general to specific. That's called deduce. When you deduce something, you're reaching a conclusion by reasoning, by observing a general pattern that appears, by observing a pattern that is consistent, and therefore you make a specific statement or expectations about something. For example, all cats have 4 legs. My dog has 4 legs, therefore my dog is a cat. Now that will be a ridiculous deduction. That's the word we're getting at. Anyway, that's the deduce. Don't confuse the word deduce with the word deduct. Which is also a verb, which is a very simple word, very straightforward word, which means to lessen, to reduce, to subtract, to diminish, so forth. Now, why am I covering these two words together? Because, as I told you before, I need to change the color because we have the flair for the dramatic. Deduce is the verb, which means to arrive at a logical conclusion, to arrive at a statement from through reasoning, from general to specific. Deduce, to reach a conclusion by reasoning. Deduce. And if you're deducing something, you are making a deduction. That is the noun. Deduction. Let's cover this word. Deduct. That is why it is important to pay attention. This word is deduct. English language is known to be annoying for a reason. It is a very quirky, very idiosyncratic, very eccentric. Oh, these words are coming out of nowhere. Oh boy, idiosyncratic. We'll learn this word also in the future. If only I could just spell them without having to look up these spellings. That's how far I can go without making sure the spelling is correct. It's not correct probably because it's turning pages like crazy. There we go. Idio. Idiosyncratic. Quirky. Or quirk, if you like. Quirk is a noun, idiosyncratic. And eccentric. How does one spell eccentric? Accent. We'll learn these words in the future. Idiosyncratic means eccentric. Something that has quirk, something that is quirky, something that is unusual. That's why English language has a reputation of being a very idiosyncratic, very eccentric language, because sometimes it seems like there is no rhyme or rhythm to it. Here is the word deduct. The noun of deduct. Deduct means to lessen, to reduce, to subtract, or to diminish. The noun of deduct is deduction. Noun of deduce is deduction. So when you see the word deduction, you have to figure out from the context of how it is being used. For example, as I've already used this word 2 or 3 times already in the lecture. For example, if you are told that A is more than B and B is more than C, therefore, this symbol means therefore A must be more than C. We just made a deduction. We deduced it. We made a deduction. Do you understand? Here, of course, I'm using the word very loosely as a synonym for inference, but you get the idea. So, deduction is both deduct and deduce. Here, it's deduce. The verb is deduce. Both deduce and deduct, even though they are both two separate words, two separate meaning. Even though they're two separate words and two separate meanings, their nouns are the same. They have the same nouns. That was it. That was the end for today's lesson. I don't know how long I took. I forgot to look at the clock when I started. But I hope you found it helpful. You found it interesting. As I said before, we'll cover these words in the future when I get to them eventually. If you wish to get hold of me for personal private tutoring, I tutor for GRE, GMAT, SAT, and TOEFL. Go to any of these website addresses that you see there, and you can send me an email. Tell me what you need help with, and I'll do whatever I can to help you out. You can also go to kashwaniprep.com and send me an email from there. Alright? Thank you.